This will be our agenda for today. It's fairly robust, and we'll have a lot of presentations across all of academic affairs in the departments and areas that affect the work that we try to do in improving our student success and our curriculum for the student. Just one quick reminder, Catherine up here is collecting or has a sign-up sheet. If you would like to make sure that your name is on that by the end of the day, that would be fantastic. And for those of you online, please make sure your microphones are muted. And if you have any questions, please type them in the chat, and we'll make sure that they get read to the group and addressed. So it's my pleasure to take a few moments to sort of set the stage for this training day. And I want to begin by sort of echoing several of the things that you heard Dr. Decker say. I want to place our blue carpet efforts into some greater perspective. Students are the center of our educational enterprise. Their cognitive and effective learning experience should guide most, if not all, of our decisions of what is done and how we do it. So this has sort of been the basis, this sort of statement, the foundation for what we're trying to accomplish in Blue Carpet and working to improve the classroom experience since it became a university initiative. Those that have been actively participating, and there have been a lot, are going to tell you that this has been far from an easy endeavor. There are very few quick wins. It's a long, hard slug. However, a lot of progress has been made, and it's been pretty impressive. And I've been heartened by the fact that we've been able to rally together and to really focus on the lens of the student as we pursue this initiative. I want to start out by sharing the teams that have worked so diligently on this project to this point and who really deserve a lot of the credit. We have a curriculum subcommittee that's co-chaired by Dr. Kelly Renner and Roberta Nietzsche, and the liaison for that has been under the guidance of Patrick Bennett. And Jesse Furman, Chanel Jones, Joanne Jordan, Nicole Robeson, Gary McDaniel, Barb Myville, Suzanne Smith, Rob Wood, and Carl Waugh have all been active participants in leading the charge on how we adapt our curriculum. In instructional quality, we have co-chairs Alex Heckman and Martina Pong, who gave over to Alex after her or during her sabbatical, and Megan Rail, as well as Barbara Carter, who retired about partway through the first initiation of this subcommittee. The liaison is Jonathan McCombs, and we have Brenda Jones, Jeannie Black, Tim Raymond, Brandy Bager Fraley, Michael Klingler, Chunbo Chu, Beverly Smith, E. Yang, Leah Neidhart, David Nee, Mary Bynum, Ray Forbes, Charles Saunders, Isidoro Talavera, Doug Ross, and Kimmy Green. Academic Services, co-chaired by Drs. Namet Alpay and Blake Renner, with the liaison, Dr. Andy Eganor, and our committee members, Alicia Teague, LaDorian Latin, Tim Raymond, Joanne Jordan, Chris Tyner, Connie Wanstreet, Alyssa Darden, Nicole Robeson, Brian Gregory, Katie Corden, Nicole Esker, Jason Howard, Erica Burr, and Paul Meeker. And finally, we have the overachieving academic technology who wanted to do everything on their own, co-chaired by Les Matthew and Don Ransberg, and the liaison started out to be Gail DeGeneiro and also transitioned to Don Ransberg. We have Kamal Aiden, Dan Bell, and Carol Blaine, and they will articulate why they chose this approach. I think it was for all the credit, but they argue something different. Please join me in quickly giving a round of applause to all these people who have taken on this initiative and these subcommittees to work on this. So as we pursued Blue Carpet, this became the Phase 1 initiatives that we tried to accomplish, and there are a lot of them. And I think what Dr. Decker reiterated is, we've been doing a lot of work between Blue Carpet, Red Carpet, Student Success Initiatives, the Learning Commons, and I think we're overlapping in a lot of our efforts here with much of what we're trying to accomplish. And I'm hoping over the next phase that we're going to take some time and really drill down to those things that make the biggest impact to our students, and whether or not they require the most or least amount of effort is sort of anecdotal. As long as we're keeping that real focus on the student lens and the impact we can make as faculty, I want to make sure that that's sort of what we're focusing on in the next iteration of Blue Carpet. So here's where we ended up after Phase 1, about 8 months of work. It took us about 4 or 5 months to get up and rolling, and then we ended up with really pursuing through on a lot of these, more of the low-hanging fruit, but we accomplished a great deal. And again, much to the work and to the strength and efforts of everybody that you just heard on these committees. couple highlights from each one of the subcommittees. And so with curriculum, our goal was to try to make sure we are providing as high a quality and relevant curriculum as we could for our students. Much of the work that we've focused on has been working on course delivery method definitions, modalities, what we originally called them, and looking at meet session best practices and policies, because this was one of the areas that students hearken to advisors, to the HLC, and to other leaders at the university the most. In the future, we're going to hope to look at additional curricular barriers, but with the help of Red Carpet and the Student Success Initiative and some of these other committees that are really trying to help achieve a better place for our students at Franklin University, as well as determining overall course quality and establishing better quality assurance metrics. Instructional quality accomplished perhaps the most, and also had the most number of initiatives that they took on. Martina really wanted to drive home a lot of these in the beginning, and then she left them for Megan and Alex to hopefully drive towards fruition at the end. We were successful in accomplishing the full-time faculty onboarding process and an adjunct faculty onboarding process. There's a separate committee that is spun off of this that is now driving a lot of the decisions around how we're continuing to do these things. And we also have a full-time faculty operations manual that exists on SharePoint for all. Phase 2 priorities is to continue to work through challenges with timely feedback in courses and finding ways to ensure that the feedback is given in the most appropriate way and in the most easily accessible way for students. And we'll also be working again on teaching best practices as well. Academic Services Subcommittee highlights. You're here today is probably the largest achievement of that group, to make sure that we start this process of where faculty can get together and to talk about best practices and work together to improve the classroom experience. But they also have been working very diligently on new recommendations on how we improve course and section availability, which has probably been one of the more controversial and difficult things to try to achieve. And they've also been working on additional services through Pearson Smart Thinking and other softwares and platforms. Phase 2 priorities are to continue to move those paper-based exams to computer-based where applicable, to continue to work on full-time and adjunct faculty services, and to work on some specific course needs where our students struggle the most. Academic technology, Phase 1 successes, the development of AHA. They're working on moving Microsoft Teams as part of the classroom experience. We've had several pilot runs of that this last year. They're piloting training solutions for Teams and MFA as well, and they're working on improved faculty to IT communication pathways, particularly as it focuses on how faculty communicate the needs for technology and where they find the state of that ask over time. Phase 2 priorities are continuing to look at cross-departmental communication of all technology changes and the identification of new technology needs. I'm going to pause and sort of talk about Blue Carpet and my hope for this inaugural meeting, as well as what we hope to accomplish in the future. We're purveyors of knowledge, and we sometimes can fall prey to sort of the traditional or our own personal biases towards this. You can think of, things like the sage on the stage, right? There are certainly opportunities where that has value and merit, but as faculty, we need to be more than that. We need to be coaches. We need to be mentors. We need to be the guide on the side. In our present educational landscape, students are receiving an increasing menu of choices and possibilities to go to for their education. But they are also wanting to take more control of when and how they learn. We as a university need to be responsive to this. One of the early objectives of Blue Carpet was to have a day like this, similar to what Urbana faculty experience at True Blue and U, but one for Franklin faculty, one where we get together and learn as well as work to improve the classroom experience for our students, something that I hope every single one of you can get behind. It is my hope that this inaugural meeting is a starting point and one that creates the foundation by which we can build upon each year to provide better clarity not only for ourselves, but for our students, and to allow us to continually assess our changing landscape as faculty, not only here at Franklin, but across the higher education landscape, including how we respond in order to meet the needs of our students. I hope we can accomplish this by being in this room together as a faculty, by informing one another, by sharing best practices, by challenging one another in our opinions and expectations about what we should have. I want to conclude my opening remarks by acknowledging that this day is somewhat of a unique occasion at Franklin University. I believe it represents one of the largest gatherings of faculty in one place at one time, certainly over the last 5 years, but perhaps the last 10. And I will admit that it is probably not by your choosing, but I'm grateful that you're here anyway. It is with that I thank you for participating today, and I hope that you gain a great deal out of it. Your feedback is always welcome. As a Blue Carpet Initiative, it is supposed to be driven by faculty, led by faculty, and achieved by faculty and all the areas that support faculty in their development and in providing the most high-quality, effective experience that we can for students. So I thank you for being here again, and I'm looking forward to a really wonderful day of learning and working with my peers and colleagues in this event.